Welcome back to another lesson. Today I'm going to be talking about something that I have recently discovered, and that is this thing called Neurographica. I'm not going to go into details about what it is and what it is being used for, but I am going to show you today how the basic process or the basic beginnings of it are. So before I start demonstrating, I wanted to show you some examples of things that I have come across that are not neurographica, but they are very much resembling the idea of neurographica. So over here on the left, what you see are these shapes, and you're wondering what could it be. Well, these are actually photographs of, or at least this is one photograph of soap bubbles. The one on the right, I'm sure you can recognize, is just cracked texture. It could be paint or it can be dry ground. It doesn't matter, but it's just cracked texture. Moving on to some other examples. So here are some examples that come closer, or the one that's colored is not necessarily neurographica, but the one on the left resembles it much more. So what you see are these very interesting expressive lines, and then you see it filled in with color, and you see it filled in with just random patterns or shading or that sort of thing. The one on the left here is actually a neurographic, an actual neurographic drawing. I believe it is either paint or white marker of some sort on black paper, and then the one on the right is just a simple pen drawing. So here's another one. So this one over here is actually a type of painting technique where paint that is very fluid is being poured on a canvas, and the patterns that are formed are very much resembling this idea of the neurographica. So how do you make one? Let's insert the layer over here, and let's pick a brush of some sort. I'm gonna use a pencil just to begin. I'm gonna use just black because I'm sure that's the only thing that you might have. Yeah, so that should work for us. Okay, so in general, when you start out a neurographica design, you actually want to start out with a very fast and very mindless kind of expressive line. So you could do something as quick as that. You can just make shapes, just random lines that are sort of following just all over the place. The whole idea is for you to start off the edge of the paper and off the edge of the paper. Now you might wonder, well, how far can you go with it? I can't tell you how far you want to go with it. You kind of have to decide that for yourself. So let's see that I start out with something like this. Okay, and now I'm very slowly adding some more shapes or some more lines. But once again, you want to start off the page and you want to end off the page. Now it's very helpful if you can do this without any kind of distractions. Okay, so that's good enough for what it is now. Now, after you have put down all these lines, the next step for you would be to go in, and this is where the therapeutic part about doing this comes in. You want to go in and at every single intersection where two lines meet, you want to soften that curve. So you see how this over here is a very sharp point? Well, you don't want to have that. You want all of your intersections to have this U shape in it. Now you might wonder, those of you that are just fans of my channel, you might wonder, why in the whole world am I doing this on this background? Well, it just so happens that this is basically the only thing that my students have available to them to draw on at this point. We're still in distance learning. It is, what is today's day? January 24th, and we're still in distance learning. So I am having my students use composition books for all of their drawing and all of their exercises and all of their worksheets and projects. So I am demonstrating on a photograph of one of my composition books. I've become a huge fan of composition books as art journals after I watched a fellow YouTuber. Her channel is named after her, and her name is Melanie Sullivan. And when I saw her work in her composition books, I was completely hooked. I realized that art can be done in anything, and sometimes when you use something as mundane as a composition book, you sort of let go of all your preconceived notions of what the work should look like, and you're not afraid of making mistakes, and you're just able to be creative and not worry about anything else. And that's what I have learned to love about composition books. So I've been using them now for about a year, I would have to say. And first I started out as an experiment. I wanted to see if it works out. I wanted to see if the composition book is going to work out for my students, and I was just using them in one of my classes, and now I'm using them in all of my classes. And what's really amazing about the composition book is that it's absolutely incredibly sturdy. And if you glue a couple of pages together, depending on the quality of the page, I find that some composition books have more of that recycled paper feel, and those may require you to glue 3 pages. But 2 pages together for some of the composition books I found is plenty. And it takes paint, and you can do collage, and you can do all sorts of things in them. So that's why you're seeing a composition book background here. Now, one thing besides going in and rounding off these intersections, one thing that you must do, and it is very important that you do this, because I've seen it without, and I've seen it with, and I'm telling you, with it works a whole lot better. And what I'm talking about is the lines. So this line right here, okay, so this right here, if you look at it, it looks kind of, I don't know, boring. It's not that interesting. So what I like to do, and I do this when I use my fountain pens, when I use my pencil, whatever medium I use, I like to go in and shape my lines, make them more varied, more organic. I don't like them to be too even. And so every single one of my lines will have something done to them. I think that just makes it a whole lot more interesting, and it's a bit more expressive. Now, don't overdo it, of course, everything in moderation. But you'll notice how much, I don't know, having just that by itself, the way it is like that in comparison with this strong, bold area, it just doesn't look good. So by going in and sort of varying that line, you get to have a completely different look to this whole entire shape. What I really, really like about doing these, and I have, oh my goodness, I lost count how many Neurographica drawings I've done in the past. I will have to say a couple of months. I do them while I sit in church and listen to a sermon, or when I sit and I don't know, watch a movie. I don't necessarily watch it when I'm drawing. I'm more listening to it. Or my son likes to have me sit next to him when he plays Animal Crossing, and it's not always that exciting. Don't tell him, please. I really enjoy watching him. Don't get me wrong. I do enjoy watching him play Animal Crossing, and I do have a lot of fun sitting here and giving him advice. Although sometimes we just scream at each other like kids. No, I want it like that. Why don't you put that tree over there? And that kind of thing. So, anyways, I will sit and draw if I'm not crocheting or doing other things. But I love doing these Neurographica designs, and they are absolutely incredibly relaxing. And the more I do them, the more interesting they become. And in some ways, I mean, if you go and research Neurographica, one thing that you're going to find out is that it is being used as a form of art therapy, which I believe is extremely helpful. And I also think that it is a form of therapy that can reach across all ages and abilities, and yeah. So gosh, I feel like I'm saying so much so this form of art can be extremely therapeutic, and sometimes I find myself just sitting here thinking about all kinds of things, and I think that in itself is important when you can reflect upon life, upon current events, your relationships, and your plans for the next day. Doesn't matter. And sometimes those feelings and emotions can be definitely evident in your drawing. Now, I know that I have some students that do digital drawing, and I know I'm doing this digitally. I would like you to try to do it on paper first and then play around. I mean, I could have done this from the very, very beginning digitally, but I don't know, there's something about doing it with a pencil, one actual pencil and actual paper in hand rather than digitally. So try to do it with pencil and paper, and or you can even use a ballpoint pen. It doesn't matter what you use, what the medium you use. And then after you've done a few with your pencil and paper, then go ahead and do it digitally and see what the difference is. And at this point, I don't know. Let me think. I'll think about it. I because this is actually the very first time that I I'm doing this Neurographica digitally. I'll let you know what I think about it or how it compares, in my opinion. But what I want you to get out of this is, basically how the whole process works. The shaping of the lines, these intersections. So don't forget, it's pretty much like having a circle inside each one of these intersections. Yeah. And this U. So all the V's become U's. Okay, so this over here, this was an intersection between two lines, but I just filled it all in. So if you ever wonder what to do with that sort of thing, just fill it on in. So this over here, there's no point in me putting over there another circle there. I mean, it makes no sense. So just make it solid like that. So although it may seem a little bit too simplistic to the beginning artist, in reality, it does require you to be a little bit more of a craftsman, because I know some students and some beginning artists will probably want to do this, and they will, I don't know, you probably feel like, well, it didn't come out the same way like Mrs. C's, so what am I doing wrong? The smoothness of your line work, and I'm not talking about you being able to make a straight line, or I don't know. I'm talking about the flow of the lines. That comes with practice. So if you are looking at this and you're wondering, well, why is mine so, I don't know, just because I know you're going to think that at one point. You're going to say, well, there's something about this that looks a little bit too rigid, or I don't know, it might not be as good as you might want it to be, and that's okay. Don't stress over it in the beginning. The first initial lines are important, and when you make those first initial lines, that very first line that you make, you want to do it fast without thinking, and you want to go from one edge of the paper to the next, and kind of, trace a road for yourself, that, if you will. Don't think about it, because the more you think about it, the more trouble you're going to run into. You want to do it as fast as possible, and you want your hand to be lifted off the paper when you first make those lines. Okay? So if your hand is on the paper when you make those first initial lines, you will run into an issue that I like to call constipated lines. I don't know what else to call them. They are lines that seem like they're hesitating to do something for you. So try to go fast, and also lift your hand off the paper. Hold your pencil from, I don't know, let's say the middle part of your pencil, or your whatever tool you're using, so that you are in a way forced to make your line as less controlled as possible. Okay, the control comes during this stage right here. This is where you actually have to do some controlling, and that's fine. You are just gonna follow along all these other lines, and you're going to round all the intersections like this, and you're going to adjust the width of your line so it's not so boring and straight and everything else. You want it to be a little bit undulating. You want it to have a little bit more pizzazz. Okay, now don't go overboard with the pizzazz. I mean, goodness gracious. Don't start pouring glitter all over it, if you know what I mean. But make it a little bit more natural. Okay. And like I said, if you come into areas like this one right here that I'm working in, and you have way too many lines colliding into each other, don't worry about it. Just fill those in. And if you ever want to go back and maybe, and depending on what you're using as far as tools, you can always go in and, I don't know, erase or something. Like that, you know, and that, you know, should fix the fact that it's so big and bold over there. If you're using a marker, you can use a white marker, but in general it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think that's that much of a concern. But see, you can always fix it. You can always go in and, I don't know, do something there. If it feels like it needs to. In general, I don't bother with those things. Let's see how it looks. You can see already how the whole thing is starting to have a bit more of an interesting feel to it. You know, one thing that I could do is maybe get rid of the background layer so you can look at it more like it actually is without the distractions. That's another option. You know, get a piece of white paper and draw on that. And you can sort of tell where you need to go and add maybe a little bit more of that line variation. And of course, stepping back from it, and my way of stepping back from my image on my iPad is to zoom out. But you can step back from your paper. The physical stepping back from your paper is very important. Another thing that I like to do is I like to turn my drawing around and look at it from different angles and see, what do I see in it? What happens when I turn it this way? What happens when I turn it this way? Which way does it look better when I look at it? So this is the original way that I actually drew it, but maybe there's another way to look at this drawing. So it's perfectly fine for you to change your mind about the orientation of this drawing. And in some ways I kind of like it this way. The upside down version of it is quite interesting to me. I think it also depends on the next step of this drawing, which I'm not going to show you today because, or at least in this video, because I just want you to focus on this for now. And this is the only thing that should occupy your time. And if you are diligent about it, you can do this whole entire thing in one sitting. Now, I don't know how long we've been here together. How long? Oh my goodness, it's about 37 minutes already. Wow, time just passes so fast. I had no idea that this much time has passed. So I hope you get the idea of how to do this first initial part of the Neurographica. I would like you to try it out for yourself. And, if you don't like the first drawing, that's okay. Do another one. And it's okay to start small. I mean, you don't have to do a 2-page spread in your composition books. You can definitely do 1 page or half page, or maybe you want to do it on some index cards to begin with. You can definitely do it on an index card to begin with. Now, eventually, the bigger you go, the better, because I didn't like that. The bigger you go, the better, because it just allows you to do more things and have more lines, and then colors or shading or patterns or whatever you want to fill it in after you are done with this first initial part. So hopefully you have learned something, those of you that are my students in my class, and those of you that are just fans of the page, or maybe you just came across it. Let me know if you have any requests with regards to these kinds of Neurographica. If you want to know how to do one thing or another, let me know so I can, and you can put that in your comments below. So I can maybe you'll give me some ideas. I'm always open for ideas. One thing that I tell my students is that they teach me probably just as much as they are learning from me. And that kind of exchange of information and inspiration is always necessary, and I don't think we can ever have enough of it. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.